Hare Krishna, dear devotees. That was Pranam Jai Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class, ISKCON Portland. I am going to start with my prayers now. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपसिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे So, today we are going to read the verse, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 15th chapter, and the verse 40th. I'm going to read the verse 3 times. विसृज्य तत्र तत्सर्वं दुकूलावलयादिकं निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः सञ्चिन्नाशेषबन्धनः विसृज्य तत्र तत्सर्वं दुकूलावलयादिकं निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः सच्चिन्नाशेषबन्धनः sorry विसृज्य तत्र तत्सर्वं दुकूलावलयादिकं निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः सञ्छिन्नाशेषबन्धनः Anyone would like to read the verse, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I can give it a try.
Thank you.
विसृज्य तत्र तत्सर्वं दुकूलवलयादिकं निर्ममो निरहङ्कार सञ्छिन्नशेषबन्धन. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to please recite the verse?
Yes, Mataji, I want to try, Mataji.
Yes, please.
विसृज्य तत्र तत्सर्वं दुःखालं दुःखालवलयादिकं निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः सञ्चिन्नशेषबन्धनः. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice. Wonderful. Anyone would like to recite it? We will wait for 2 minutes and we will continue. Okay. I'm going to synonyms now. Visrijya, relinquishing. Tatra, all those. Tat, that. Sarvam, everything. Dukula, belt. Valaya adikam, and bangles. Nirmamaha, uninterested. Nirahankaraha, unattached. Sanchinna, perfectly cut off. Asesha bandhanaha, unlimited attachment. So, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaja Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of the royal order and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. Purport: to become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. No one can become an associate of the Lord or can go back to Godhead without such purification. Maharaja Yudhishthira, therefore, to become spiritually pure, at once gave up his royal opulence, relinquishing his royal dress and garments. The kashaya or saffron linen cloth of a sannyasi indicates freedom from all attractive material garments, and thus he changed his dress accordingly. He became disinterested in his kingdom and family, and thus became free from all material contamination or material designation. People are generally attached to various kinds of designations: the designations of family, society, country, occupation, wealth, position, and many others. As long as one is attached to such designations, he is considered materially impure. The so-called leaders of men in the modern age are attached by national consciousness, but they do not know that such false consciousness is another designation of the materially conditioned soul. One has to relinquish such designations before one can become eligible to go back to Godhead. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness who die in national consciousness. But here is an example of Maharaj Yudhishthir, a royal king who prepared himself to leave this world without such national consciousness. And yet he is remembered even today because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level with the personality of Godhead Sri Rama. And because people of the world were dominated by such pious kings, they were happy in all respects, and it was quite possible for such great emperors to rule the world. So, I'm going to read one more time the translation. Maharaj Yudhishthira at once relinquished all his garments, belt, and ornaments of the royal order and became completely disinterested and unattached to everything. Just a minute. Sorry. I'm sharing the screen, right? Okay. Sorry. Okay. Just give me a second. Something is going wrong in my. Okay. Stop sharing the screen. Okay. Just give me a second. Going wrong. Yes. So, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nastapraye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. Sorry, I'm not well. Sorry for the inconvenience causing because of me. So basically, this verse is speaking about Yudhishthira Maharaja's renunciation. Uh, um, just give me a second. I'm confused a little bit. Share. While I'm sharing the screen, I'm not able to minimize it or something like that. Sorry, stop sharing screen. No problem. Okay. So, So this verse is speaking about Yudhishthira Maharaj. Basically, the essence of this verse is Yudhishthira Maharaj's renunciation. So why did even, the question comes basically, why did even Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to leave this planet and go back to the spiritual world? The reason was when Krishna left this earthly planet, the Kali, which was partially manifested earlier, had fully manifested now to create inauspicious conditions, especially for the less intelligent people who are ignorant, who doesn't have any spiritual knowledge, and who have a poor fund of knowledge. So Yudhishthira Maharaj could clearly see all the bad omens like increase of extreme greed for wealth or material gain. No one were truthful. There was cheating, violence throughout the state and also among individuals. So Yudhishthira Maharaj had seen what are all happening in Kali Yuga in his own kingdom. In reality, these are not the only reasons. As we understand that in the earlier ages, kings were not just kings, they were Raj Rishis, saintly kings, right? So Yudhishthira Maharaj was very keen about his spiritual perfection. He was not like a Dhritarashtra. For Dhritarashtra, Vidura had to come and teach lessons, right? Because Dhritarashtra all by himself was not able to go to the forest unless Vidura comes and taught him many lessons. Vidura had to remind him about spiritual perfection. But for Yudhishthira Maharaj, he knows everything. He was thinking of attaining spiritual perfection. Not only that, he was also contemplating on his kartavya, the duty. He knew his responsibility. So before he leaves home, he arranged for everything. He trained Parishit Maharaj so well in how to rule the kingdom and how to protect his subjects, and also made him an emperor. Not only that, he also thought of other cities like Surasena, meaning Madura, etc., and made Lord Krishna's grandson, Vajranabha, as the king for the protection of the inhabitants of Madura. Like this, he made all arrangements in a right dharmic way. Now, coming to the present verse, he renounced all his royal garments, jewelry, etc. He took up kashaya dress, like a sannyasi dress. So, if we see Yudhishthira Maharaj's life, when he was in householder's life, he performed all his duties in a dharmic way, though he did some mistakes too, but he corrected them. His renunciation was not artificial. It is a true renunciation. It came out of bhakti for the Supreme Lord. Truly speaking, there was no reason for him to leave kingdom and take up sannyasa. Because he is such a dharmic person and he doesn't need to go anywhere actually. Because Kali, because all the subjects were liking him, his brothers were still respecting him, loving him so much. Though he had seen some bad omens of Kali, he's so knowledgeable. So Kali would have not had any effect on him. He's already a pure devotee of the Lord. So, Srila Prabhupada in the purport actually mentions that to become purified of material contamination is the necessary qualification for becoming one of the associates of the Lord. So, in order to become the associate of the Lord, it's not easy. We have to completely purify from the contamination of material world. So, no one can become an associate of the Lord or can go back to Godhead without such purification. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj is such a pure soul that despite going through many difficulties in his life, he never complained. He never said anything to Krishna. Right from the beginning, they are Bhagavan's Ananya Bhaktas, staunch devotees, Pandavas, right? So, moreover, Yudhishthira Maharaj's situation was totally different. He did not get that kingdom very easily. Aram se nahi mile, no? He was a prince. Still, it was not easy for him to attain kingdom. He should have been inherited, but it was not like that. So much struggle in the life of Pandavas, right? They took birth in a jungle in the midst of dangerous animals. But these animals were proved to be better than Kauravas. At least they were not occupying their place, right? So, this, despite of Duryodhana's evil-mindedness, The Pandavas used to call him as Suyodhan. You know what is the meaning of Suyodhan? Suyodhan is who can actually fight nicely. So they are that much, virtuous, devotees of Lord. Yudhishthira Maharaj got the kingdom after a lot of hardships. But, but Yudhishthira Maharaj left the palace without any attachment. Usually in the material world, if we see people, if we suppose construct a building or mansion or a house for us, we tell people, right, oh, we constructed this house or mansion out of lot of hard work and after a lot of hardships in our life. For the last 20 years we have been accumulating all our savings, we were working very hard and we were accumulating all the money and we are constructing this house, and we actually develop so much attachment with our mansion, right, with our house, and we never want to leave that house, right? Who wants to live, right, that kind of mansion, big building, which is made out of lot of hard work and everything, right? But in case of Yudhishthira Maharaj, right, actually he just like that, he left everything, right? He doesn't have any attachment. He had such a wonderful palace, right? But just like that, he took off his clothes, jewelry, and took Kashaya dress. So Srila Prabhupada explaining that wearing Kashaya dress meaning losing all attraction for other garments, other attractive garments. Nowadays, men wear, right? Men and women wear attractive garments. So he doesn't have any interest, any attachment, nothing. His only attachment, Pandava's attachment, is with Krishna. If Krishna is there not and they're not available on this planet, then they never want to stay on this planet, even for a minute. They just want to go back to Krishna. So, if you see Yudhishthira Maharaj's case, we can understand that whoever had truly surrendered to the Lord, they know that whatever is happening in their life is sanctioned by the will of the Lord, by the will of Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and without any doubt, without any difficulty, they just accept it. These are all lessons actually, we have to learn seeing the great devotees like Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was internally was so detached. He doesn't need to go to the forest. He's so detached. But just to show an example to his subjects that how to follow Varnashrama Dharma, he decided to leave the kingdom. And sorry, devotees, I am not able to on my video today because I've been sick for the last 15 days. So sorry for the inconvenience causing. So, but in our case, in this material world, what is happening is voluntary sacrifice is needed. Once we start bhakti process, the process of devotional service, after being in Krishna conscious for many, many years, if we don't voluntarily sacrifice our positions, our interests, our attachments, our desires of sense gratification, then Krishna, in the form of, time, will take away everything. Sorry, will take away everything. So, voluntary sacrifice is recommended, is needed. We have to all by ourselves come out of these sense gratificatory processes, and we have to purify ourselves. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? In the Vyavasayatmika buddhir yehe ke kuru nandana bahushaka hi anantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam. Those who are on the path of Krishna consciousness, they are resolute in purpose. Their main aim is only one, with focused attention, one pointed focus. They will actually worship Krishna. Their intelligence is not many branched, but those whose aim is not one, who are irresolute in purpose, their intelligence is many branched. On the other hand, Sri Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita 2.44, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam tayapahrit chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhavna vidhiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So if we are too much attached to sense enjoyment and material opulences, then a fixed devotion does not take place in our hearts. Krishna also says in 2.69, या निशा सर्वभूतानां तेष्यं जागर्ति संयमी यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुने. What is night for all the beings is the time for awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. In the material world, we see people, usually materialistic people, uh, who are after sense gratification, they are awake until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the midnight, and 4 o'clock they sleep. But on the contrary to that, the devotees actually they sleep early in the night and they wake up at 4 o'clock, right? To perform sadhana bhakti. So uh, so these are all verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying directly, Srila Prabhupada had mainly mentioned in the purport that people are generally attached to various kinds of designations, right? The designations of family, society, country, occupation, wealth, position, and many others. As long as one is attached to such designations, he is considered materially impure. Srila Prabhupada also said, national consciousness, that is also a false consciousness. It is another kind of designation also. What is national consciousness? Awareness and identification of individuals with their nation, characterized by sense of culture, history, values. It is basically collective awareness and identity shaped by cultural, social, and political factors among his nation's populace. So one has to, Srila Prabhupada is saying that one has to get rid of such consciousness in order to go back to Godhead. In any kind of designations we have to live. Any kind of designations, like I'm, I'm this, I'm that. I'm a foreigner, I'm an Indian, I'm an engineer, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm children, I'm a son. So in the material world, basically, the political leaders, despite of their old age and diseases, they don't want to leave their positions, right? But devotees, though they have everything, they want to renounce, right? Like Yudhishthira Maharaj. And we have so many examples in Bhagavatam. So in the Bhagavatam, actually, fifth canto, it starts, so many kings, like, Priyavarta Maharaj, for example, uh, who is the son of Swayambhuva Manu. Uh, Swayambhuva Manu himself wants to renounce everything and go to the forest for spiritual perfection. So he wants to hand over the ruling of the kingdom to Priyavarta, his son. But Priyavarta, no, he didn't want to rule the kingdom. He also wants to go to the forest for spiritual perfection. So Brahma had to come and convince him. And after that, even Nabi Maharaja, who is the Lord Rishabhadeva's father, he also wants to leave the kingdom and go to the forest for perfection. And later, Rishabdev also wants to go, and he wants to also leave the kingdom, and he wants to go to forest. He wants to renounce everything, because as we discussed earlier, these all kings are not only kings; they are Rajarshis, saintly kings, right? And after that, after that, Rishabhadeva wants to hand it over the ruling of kingdom to Bharat Maharaj, right? And at some point of time, Bharat Maharaj also wants to leave the kingdom, and he wants to also go to forest for spiritual perfection. Like this, actually, Bharat Maharaj also left. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned in many of his purports that at some point of time, we all should leave everything and focus on our bhakti life with one pointed attention, as we discussed from the Bhagavad Gita, verse 2.41, right? So, before see, in one of the lectures of Sachinandana Swami, he really nicely mentioned that before we die, the feeling of mamatva, the feeling of mine, my possessions, that false ego, ahankara, when we think that we have so many possessions in this material world, or naturally our ahankara increases, right? So this false ego is these things should be actually left. Before we die, before our soul leaves our body, actually our ahankara should first die. We have to make sure that our false ego, which is also called as a mithya ahankara, should first die. Otherwise, there is no question of going back to Godhead. There is no question of becoming an associate of God, associate of the Supreme Lord. That is what Srila Prabhupada said in the first very sentence of this purport, right? So just ahankara is not a problem, because ahankara about our existence is not a problem. That that will always be there. That I am existed in this material world. That will be there. That is okay. But the problem is with mithya hankara, that is false ego, like wrong designations, identifying ourselves with wrong wrong identifications and wrong designations with something material, which comes with our body, and these should be left. So Yudhishthira Maharaj left all these designations which comes with the body. So an example also given, right? Like basically we are covered, like how we are covered. The clouds are there in the sky, and these clouds are actually covering the sun. Though clouds are not able to do any harm to the sun, but still, because the clouds are covering our eyes, we cannot see the sun. In the same way, our Michya Hankara covers our real identity. It puts a curtain of Maya. So because of that curtain of Maya, we think that we are the controllers. So in the prayers of Kunti, also it is mentioned very nicely in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th chapter and 19th verse. Kunti Devi says that Maya Javanikashannam Ainadokshajam Avyayam Nalakshyase Mudadrisha Nato Natya Dharayatha. Swami, oh my Lord, being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are eternally irreproachable factor, covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So very beautifully, she's mentioning that it is very difficult to approach Lord, because we are covered. We are not able by the curtain of deluding energy, Maya Devi. So we cannot see the Lord unless we have some purification. So what is this Mithya Ahankar? What happens with that? This Mithya Ahankar is explained in four ways. So it has four things. What are those four things? Avidya, Asmita. I mean, our acharyas are explaining Avidya, Asmita, Ragadvesha, and Abhinivesha. So among these four, the first two are related to Mithya Ahankar. What is the first two? Avidya. Avidya is what? Ignorance. Ignorance about what? Ignorance of our identity. We forget that we are Nitya Dasa Sardasis of Krishna. Jivare Swarupaye Krishnera Nitya Dasa. We have forgotten that. Because of that, we are in ignorance. So the first one is avidya. And the second one is asmita. Asmita means taking a different identity, leaving our actual identity and taking a different identity. Asmi means Asmi means me. Ta means that. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. Wrong identification. Hmm? So this is Asmita. So next comes Ragadvesha. Because we are identifying wrongly ourselves, Raga comes, Dvesha comes. Raga means attachment comes, and also, uh, uh, hatred comes. So we say, we like this, we don't like this. We want this, we don't want this. We like this, we don't like this. We want this, we don't want this. So we separate everything. And this happens because because with whatever the body we identify, with whatever the designations we recognize ourselves, depending on that, these desires arise. When we when we observe too much into these things, it is called abhinivesha. So these four things are very important in mithya hankara: avidya, asmita, ragadvesha, and abhinivesha. We want only happiness. We don't want any hardships in our life. So we are distracting so much that we are not able to do our sadhana nicely. That is the problem. So these four things basically, are this avidya, asmita, ragadvesha, and abhinivesha are explained very beautifully in one of the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm going to share that 11 to 37 verse. I'm going to share that. It's important. Oh my God. So 11 to 37, right? So it is very nicely mentioning that Bhayam videyabhiniveşatah syad ishadapetasya viparyayo smritihi tanmayayato buddha bhajetam bhakchaikayesham gurudevatatma. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and his very life and soul. So, here this is very important. The illusory potency of the Supreme Lord is Duratyaya. It is impossible to escape without the direct mercy of Krishna. Mamevaye prapadyante, Maya metam tarantite. Maya is under the Maya is subordinate to Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So the example may be given that when the sun is covered by clouds, we already little bit discussed about this. No man-made apparatus can remove them from the sky. Clouds are there, but clouds, nobody is removing the clouds. Who is removing? But the sun itself, which created the clouds, can immediately burn away the cloudy covering and reveal itself. Similarly, when we when we become covered by the illusory potency of the Lord, we identify with our temporary material body, and thus we are always in fear and anxiety. But when we surrender to the Lord Himself, when we surrender to the Lord Himself, He can immediately free us from the illusion. The material world is padam padam yad vipadam. It is dangerous at every step. When a living entity understands that he is not the material body, but an eternal servant of God, his fear is vanquished. As stated by Srila Vishnu Chakra Thakur, our wonderful Acharya, in this Bhagavad Dharma, devotees have no need to fear the bondage of material existence. The fear goes away of its own accord for one who engages in devotional service. So, engaging in devotional service is very, very important. So, but this is a very wonderful verse, right? I really like the verse. So, but now that we understand that we have mithya hankara, right? Because we are trying to purify ourselves, right? That is what this is verse is mentioning. Unless we purify, we cannot go back to Krishna. We cannot become the associate of Krishna. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj left. He's a pure devotee of the Lord. So, how do we actually come out of this, right? So, because of our mithya hankara, because we have avidya, asmita, ragadvesha, abhinivesha, we are not able to actually leave, still we are attached basically. So, but how to come out of this mithya hankara? So, now 7:15:23, I'm going to share the verse, very wonderful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is saying, not this. 7:15:23. How to come out of this is solution is given. How to come out of our mithya hankara. आन्वीक्षिक्या शोकमोहो दम्भं महत् उपासया योगान्तरायन् मौनेन हिंसां कामाजनिहया. By discussing spiritual knowledge, one can conquer lamentation and illusion. By serving a great devotee, one can become prideless. By keeping silent, one can avoid obstacles on the path of mystic yoga. And simply by stopping sense gratification, one can conquer envy. So, purport also, small purport. If one's son has died, one may certainly be affected by lamentation and illusion and cry for the dead son. One may never overcome. One may overcome lamentation and illusion by considering the verses of Bhagavad Gita. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityur dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the soul transmigrates. One who takes birth must give up the present body, and then he must certainly accept another body. So there should be no cause for lamentation. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, who is learned in philosophy and established knowledge cannot unhappy over the transmigration of the soul. So this is a wonderful verse, and so in this way we can actually, so by discussing Krishna Katha with the devotees and by serving a pure devotee of the Lord, by coming out of sense gratification, we can come out of all these things. You see, suppose we are in such a condition that we have to be reminded by other devotees that who we are and everything every day, repeat mode, repeatedly. Like in a movie, if you see, suppose in one movie, hero gets an accident. Because of that accident, he forgets everything, and now he will be given a treatment by the doctor, right? And then every day, the treatment goes like this. Somebody comes and asks him what are all he was remembering, and he says, no, I don't remember. And then they will remind him, every day that you are this, you are the, once upon a time you are like this, and you have a family, you have children, and everything like that. Same situation. We are also, like by coming into this material world, it's like we met with an accident, and somebody who will remind us, right, that we are a Swarup, we are a part and parcel of Krishna, and we are Nityadasas of Krishna. Who will remind us? Only devotees can remind us, right? So always be in the association of devotees, nice devotees, and who can actually help us in our devotional service, and who can actually remind us. Right? And basically, the thing is that our mind is the storehouse of all desires. So, making our mind pure is the only solution for all these problems. Even Lord Krishna says in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada actually, sorry, Srila Prabhupada says in one of the purports, I'm sharing my screen again. So, Bhagavad Gita in 17-16 verse, Krishna says, um, see, to make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. So first of all, the suddhi, the purification has to come from the mind. So, so the purification has to start from the mind, right? So our mind should be trained in that in such a way that it always thinks of good, doing good for others. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna consciousness. So this is a very important sentence I'm going to read now. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification. And so there is no possibility of the minds becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should not think of the welfare of all. One should think of the welfare of the all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. We don't need to talk much basically. Mauna Vratam is always best. If we talk, then we just talk about Krishna, discuss about Krishna. Even when we go to temple, if there is anything, we can talk about Krishna only. Otherwise, better to actually be silent and do our mind smarana, always on the Lord. Control of mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealings and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. So purifying our mind is very, very important. And another secret of coming out of Midyahankar is making the secret, which I want to really share, which is very, very wonderful because, for coming out of completely material contamination and Midyahankar, what we have, false ego, is that may always have the feeling of, servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Sri Krishna. Servant of the 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 Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm not, I'm not saying this. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself offers his prayers to Lord Jagannath. Right? I will show those verses. I will actually very wonderful verses from different scriptures. I'm going to share. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, basically, when he was dancing in front of, Lord Jagannath, out of ecstasy, he was actually saying so many prayers. नाहं विप्रो न च नरपतिर्नापि वैश्यो न शूद्रो नाहं वर्ण च गृहपतिर्नो वनस्थो यतिर्वा किन्तु प्रोज्यन्निखिलपरमानन्दपूर्णामृताब्धेर्गोपीभर्तुः पदकमलयोर्दासदासानुदासः. I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Sudra, nor I'm a Brahmachari, nor a householder, a Vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He's always existing with brilliance. So, of course, this is from Padyavali taken by Srila Rupa Goswami. So, was collected verses of Srila Rupa Goswami, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer. And this is actually another wonderful example of from Chaitanya Charitamrita, like how the King Prataprudra, he's a king, right? But King Prataprudra, when he was serving, by the mercy of devotees, he was serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Jagannath gardens after the Radha Yatra was done. He was reciting Gopi Geet, right? And when he was reciting Tavakadhamrutam, Tapta Jivanam verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got so excited and he actually hugged him. And later he recognized his service to him and he asks him, see, I will give you whatever you want. Please tell me, what do you want? Then actually, Pratapruddha Maharaj says, Raje kahe ami tomara dasera भृत्येर भृत्यकरा यही मोरा आशा राजा कहे आमी तुम्हारा दासरानुदासा भृत्येर भृत्यकरा यही मोरा दासा. The king replied, My lord, I am the most obedient servant of your servants. It is my ambition that, you will accept me as a servant of your servants. The greatest achievement for a devotee is to become a servant of the servants of the Lord. Actually, no one should desire to become the direct servant of the Lord. This is not a very good idea. When Prahlad Maharaja was offered a benediction by Lord Nasimadev, Prahlada rejected all kinds of material benedictions, but he prayed to become the servant of the servants of the Lord. When Dhruva Maharaja was offered a benediction by Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, Dhruva could have asked for unlimited material opulence, but he simply asked for the benediction of becoming a servant of the servants of the Lord. Kolavecha Sridhara was a very poor man, but when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give him a benediction, he also prayed to the Lord to be allowed to remain a servant of the servants of the Lord. The conclusion is that being a servant of the servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest benediction one can desire. Actually, I don't have it is. See, I'm actually lecturing here means I'm saying to myself, I'm not saying to any devotees, I'm saying to myself, I don't have this qualification at all. So I'm just thinking how I can actually develop this wonderful quality of becoming a servant of the servant of the servant. So another verse from sixth canto where Vritrasara, actually Vritrasara's story is really heart-touching and he was actually offering his praise to Lord Indra. Very nice actually. Aham hare tava padaika dasanudaso bhavitasmi bhuyaha manah smare tashupatir gunamste Grinitava karma karotu kayaha. Oh my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? O Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes? My words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. Oh, he was thinking that all these things happen only when he becomes a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. The verse gives the sum and substance of devotional life. See how beautiful it is. One must first become a servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasa, dasa, and dasa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, and he also showed by his own example, that a living entity should always desire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of gopis. Gopi Bhartuha Padakamalayur Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. We already read that. This means that one must accept a spiritual master who comes in the disciplic succession and is a servant of the Lord. Under his direction, one must then engage one's three properties, namely his body, mind, and words. The body should be engaged in physical activity under the order of master, and the mind should also think of Krishna incessantly. This is very important. Not only body. Please remember, devotees. I'm myself remembering actually. Not only body, but the mind should always think of Krishna. Then only the servitorship comes actually. The real attitude actually comes, servant attitude. And one's work should be engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord. If one is thus engaged in the loving service of the Lord, one's life is really, really successful. So, so these are the wonderful verses I want to quote today. And also, there is another wonderful verse from Mukunda Mala Stotra. I want to read this verse. Who it is written by King Kulashekar Alvar, and he's saying that मज्जन्मना फलमिदं मधुकैतभारे मत्प्रार्थनीया मद् अनुग्रह एष एव त्वद्भृत्य भृत्या परिचारकभृत्य भृत्या भृत्यस्य भृत्या इति मां स्मर लोकनादा. Wonderful verse. O enemy of Madhu and Kaitaba, O Lord of the universe, the perfection of my life and the most cherished mercy you could show me would be for you to consider me as a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of your servant. Kulashekar Alvar is such a wonderful devotee. His prayer to Lord Mukunda Krishna is that, this is his prayers. As Krishna also says in Adi Purana, ये मे भक्तजना पार्था न मे भक्तास्ते जनाः मद्भक्तानां च ये भक्तास्ते मे भक्ता मामताः. My dear Partha, those who say they are my devotees are not my devotees, but those who claim to be devotees of my devotees are actually my devotees. So this is a very wonderful verses. These are all verses I really want to share with you all. I'm sorry I'm not able to actually open on my video because of my health condition. It is not good. So that is what I wanted to explain to you all. Share with you all what all I have prepared. So in the last sentences, I just want to go through this one more time. Foolish people adore such men who die in national consciousness, because some people do philanthropic work, right, in the material world, thinking that their name and fame will be established even after their death, even after they leave this world, and they work for the national consciousness. But here, they're not going to achieve anything, right? The fame and name might remain for some time, but nothing was beneficial for their soul. But in case of Yudhishthira Maharaj, as in the beginning of our lecture, we had discussed so much about the greatness of Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? So he's a royal king who prepared himself to live this world without such national consciousness. He doesn't have anything like that, and he's remembered even today, because he was a great pious king, almost on the same level as the personality of Goddess. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was comparing in this Yudhishthira Maharaj, very wonderful devotee of Lord, with the Lord himself, Sri Rama, right? And because people of the world were dominated by such pious kings, so they were happy in all respects. Earlier days, earlier, not now actually, right? Now actually the leaders are not devotees of the Lord. But once upon a time, as we already discussed, kings are saintly kings, Raja Rishis. So they were happy. Even with the domination, it is all beneficial to the subjects, right? So they were happy in all respects, and they were able to actually guide people in the spiritual life also, and everyone were devotees at that time. But now it's completely different, and it was quite possible for such great emperors to rule the world earlier, not now. So I want to stop my sharing right now. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for your tolerance, dear devotees. I'm really grateful to all of you who have joined today. And forgive me for any offenses or any wrong statements given by me. Thank you so much. Sorry
Hare
again.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dandavats Pranam.
Please accept my apologies. All about Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for speaking and being absorbed in Bhagavad Gita, even though you're feeling poorly. A lot of effort went into your presentation, I can see. I hope by speaking the Katha, your physical distress also diminished for at least a little bit of time. So thank you for taking this up, even in spite of illness. Shows dedication to the seva of Bhagavatam. Dear devotees, please lead with questions, reflections. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for speaking on this verse and taking the service. In spite you're struggling with your voice, and you beautifully explained the heart of this verse, Nirmamo Nirankara, and by supporting with beautiful scriptural references throughout Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and clearly explained the true meaning of the renunciation. And I got some takeaways from what you spoke today, especially on the purification, detachment, and how one's activities should be God-centered. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thanks for speaking, and pray for your speedy recovery. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'm learning from what you said, actually. I have to take some things from what you have shared now. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Sarvashakti Mataji. Thank you so much, Vijay Mataji. Thank you so much, Paramakarani Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Manasi Ganga Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So Mataji, lots of devotees are appreciating your effort and the speech. So if you were to sum it up in one sentence, does anybody else have questions?
Thank you, Radha Kunda Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hello, Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you for preparing and sharing with us. Very beautiful presentation. Very nicely done. Thank you, Mataji.
Oh, thank you, Neelam Mataji. Thank you so much for the encouraging words. Everyone, thank you. Thank you, Sridhar Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Sorry.
Mataji, any further comments or additions you want to make?
No, Prabhuji. Only thing is, I want to learn. No, from today's verse, so many things coming to my mind that I should learn actually. So I will contemplate on things how I can actually follow this verse and how I can apply in my life. So
What's the main thing you think you've absorbed? I mean, I know so many thoughts have come and so many understandings, but what's the main
The main points were striking to me for myself to follow is I have to remember every time that I am a servant of Krishna, always, servant of Krishna, that is also okay. But first thing is Jivara Swarupa Nityaya Krishna Nityadasa, right? That I have to remember all the time. And also always be in the identity of a servant of Krishna. Sometimes we forget also in day-to-day lives and all that. So just, meditate on our real identity, actual identity, which actually removes our mithya ahankara.
Mm.
Right. So the four things basically the avidya, asmita, and raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. So these four things are striking to me that I should come out of these things. Yeah, by actually remembering my real identity.
When you were speaking this verse and speaking about avidya, from Sri Pantanjali's Yoga Sutra,
Mm.
uh, uh, I remembered this verse. If you are able to pull it up on your screen,
Mhm.
if you go to Antya Lila 20.58,
Sure,
it's
Prabhuji.
Shikshastakam prayers.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Anchalila, the last chapter,
Mm-hmm. And then the 58th verse,
50th verse.
since you have such a sweet 58, Mataji.
58, okay, sir. Okay, Prabhu, no problem. I'll go to 58.
You have a sweet voice. Maybe you can sing this and
Yes, Krishna Mora Jivana, Krishna Mora Pranadhana, Krishna Mora Pranera Parana, Hrudayavu, Hrudayavu Paredaro, Seva Kari Sukhi Karo, Yehi Mora Sada, Yehi Mora Sada Rahe Jhana. One more time I'll read, Prabhuji. Krishna Moraji, very nice, fantastic verse. Thank you so much. Krishna Mora Jivana, Krishna Mora Pranadhana, Krishna Mora Pranera Parana, Hridaya Paridaro, Seva Kari Sukhi Karo, Yehi Mora Sada Rahe Dhyana. How beautiful. Krishna is my life and soul. Krishna is the treasure of my life. Indeed, Krishna is the very life of my soul, very life of my life. I therefore keep him always in my heart and try to please him by rendering service. That is my constant meditation.
yes, hopefully remembering this while you're ill will give you strength. This
Thank
was spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was in the mood of, when he
you.
became in the mood of Srimati Radharani in the company of Sri Ramananda Roy and Sir Damodar. So you know, this is the way to remove kleshas, ignorance. I mean,
Yes.
so and we can. I thought of this while you were speaking about the klesha vidya verse from Patanjali Yoga Sutra because it seems, like you said, contradictory to modern, or the general way of thinking, not just modern world, but ancient world, where there's so much attachment to
Mm.
to material opulences and
Mm.
taking them for granted, that they're going to be eternal. So when you see examples like you were mentioning throughout in Bhagavatam of renunciation or unattachment, nirmana nir ahankara, how there's the mental way to do it, and then there's the devotional way to do it. And this seems to point out to a devotional way to do it. And Sri Ramanujacharya once said that if one cannot have this within one's mind or as a habit, then sit near the Vaishnavas, and that's how we will get it. So, I think
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Really, this love, I really loved this verse, Prabhuji. I will meditate on this verse actually. I will memorize this and suitable for my situation actually. A wonderful verse. I really loved it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, when we have material suffering like illnesses and etc., the absorption is and our temporary suffering, but this is about permanent happiness.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and you spoke so nicely. Thank you. I hope and pray that you're back to soon, good health. You will be soon, and hope convey our basis sister, which will propose one.
Sure.
Panchakalpatribhyacha Kriposandhavyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah. Thank you, dear devotees. Please join for Bhagavatam lecture. I've been busy, and so I asked Radha Kunda Mataji in the middle of the week, and even whether she could speak today because I haven't created this culture, and she kindly agreed in spite of not feeling very poorly. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Should we end, Mataji? I think Mataji is left, so we can end. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Bol.
Thank you so
Prabhuji, Hare
much,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.